Hello, welcome to Sobriety 101, a channel where we talk about addiction and journey to recovery. My name is Maingi, and today on set we have a guest, and I want to give this opportunity to him so that he may introduce himself.
So thank you very much. Hello viewers, my name is Peter Kaida, a recovering alcoholic, and I'm also an addictions counselor, and that happened after going through the journey of addiction and then going through recovery. So, and I'm so grateful.
So welcome so much, Peter. Before we dive into the matters of addiction and your journey to recovery, probably you may take us way back. Now, where did you grow up?
So I was born and brought up in Gatondo, Gatondo South, in Kigajo location and Kemura location, Itare sub location, and I was brought up like any other kid. I schooled in a neighboring school, or a teacher primary school, and then from there I joined Ladroini Secondary School in Githogori, where I did my Form 1 and Form 2. Then in Form 3, this became a bit difficult. I had to transfer school, and I did my Form 3 and Form 4 in Gachika Secondary School in Gatondo. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now we come now to the matters of maybe addiction and your journey with the battle of alcoholism. Probably now you may paint us a picture of where did all the matter of substance abuse start?
My battle with alcoholism comes way back at a very tender age, because I remember I would not even have sat my KCP. I'd since been sent out of school because of going to school drunk. And my grandmother used to brew this Muratina, a local brew. My dad used to brew, and also most of my uncles used to brew. So with me, there was the availability of booze, and I would take, I would be given, at times I would even steal, and it progressed to a point whereby I had now to sort myself. I stole some of these herbs, the Muratinas, and now I would be making mine. Other than stealing my dad's, I would make mine. And it continued up to that, and by the time I went to secondary school, I had now to be sorting myself. And those are the times when we had these Rika sachets. And those are the ones I would buy, carry with me to school, and it continued like that. And little did I know that I was on my journey to alcoholism, and only for me to realize that by the time I was done with secondary school, and I started earning, so that is when now I will not spare a single day without drinking. Yeah.
So you have taken us way back when now you were a little boy. There was a lot of alcohol, maybe in your home, your uncles or your people around you, they were taking.
Yeah.
So did you have maybe other friends of your age whom you were taking together that time?
Yeah. I also had my friends. I can remember them, and because most of their dads were also brewing, so it was like me, whenever it is available at home, I would produce. Whenever it was available in their homes, I would supply. So it was like that. And we had like a network that was really working very well. Yeah.
So at that age, where could you get maybe the raw material to make your brew?
So now, as I had told you, so the raw materials for brewing Muratina, one, they are the herbs and the Muratina itself, then there is sugar for fermentation.
Yes.
Then there is the sugar cane. And since Dad was already sorted, he had his sugar cane, he would buy sugar, he had the Muratina. So me, I stole his Muratina. Like I remember there were 4 of them, and then I would use a 4-liter jerry can. So whenever he said to me to go and mix the sugar, I'll sort myself some. So anytime my dad has his brew, I also had mine. Yeah. Because I always sorted myself with those herbs, with sugar. I would get it from home. So it was as simple as that.
So at that age, taking now that alcohol, what did it make you feel at that time when you are a very young boy?
So there is that feeling. We normally talk of euphoria, that good feeling. So that good feeling will always be with me. But initially, it was not a pleasant experience because I would at times vomit. I would at times have a very severe headache the following day. And as time went by, I developed a tolerance. After developing the tolerance, there were no more vomits. I would not vomit, no more headaches, and I would even find myself looking forward to the next drinking opportunity. So as time went by, I got used to it, and little did I know that I was in the journey to my alcoholism, only to know about it later after doing the program. Yeah.
So how did now you are taking over alcohol now from that time? How did it affect your schooling?
It did affect my schooling to a great extent. In the first place, there's something that I did not tell you. By the moment I was transferred in school, it was not in any agreement with my parents. It was not in any agreement with any significant other. It was my own doing. And so I was given money to go and pay school fees at the boarding school in Gaderoine. So instead of paying school fees there, I decided to go and look for a day school. A day school that would make me have some good time with myself, as in I'll have freedom. Because with a day school, from evening to shule, you have all the time. In a day school, when I even considering most of my friends were in day schools, and precisely most of my friends were my cousins. So I had to look for a school that was near my friends. Only that implied, it implied that I had to go and look for a school that was near my grandma's place. That is what I did. So alcohol did affect my schooling because once I leave school in the evening, I never used to do any study. My grandmother comes from an area, a tea growing area, and so there are these trucks that normally collect tea. And by then they used to collect tea at night. So most of the times I will be going with those trucks, and there was a lot of local brew, mitinidawa. And so these drivers, because at times would help them in weighing the tea leaves, so they would also buy some. So generally, alcohol did affect my schooling. I was never serious with the schooling because there's no way that I will not sleep well, and then you expect me to concentrate on the following day. So most of the times I would be sleeping in class. Most of the times I would even be out. There were those hostels. We normally used to call them barracks. And those students who normally come from far, they were staying in barracks. So you just go and get accommodated in the barracks. So meaning you will not be in school, and by the time others are going home, you are going home with them as if we are coming from school. So that really did affect my schooling. Yeah.
Now, Peter, you have done with your primary school. Now we are going to your high school.
Yes.
But there's something you have mentioned. Now, when you have gone to your high school, there were those sachets.
Yeah.
How easy did they make life for you?
By then, you would think that life was being made easy, which was not the case, because the only thing that happened was you being I don't care. You know, as in, there's no way you can be on alcohol, you are in school and you expect to be disciplined. So this thing of like don't fear anything, can't do anything, I think simplifying things would mean you being able to school well. But now, if you are to bring difficulties, so then I would say that they were doing me good, but now I can see the kind of damage that was there. But anyway, you would drink, you would go sleep, you would drink, you would have the confidence to sneak from school, and the like. So I think that's the only thing that I can say the liquor was helping by then. And because they were readily available, you would buy from supermarkets, they were even relatively cheap. So I think that's one of the things that really did contribute to me being encouraged to use. Yeah.
And now you clear your high school now, and you go to college. You went to college, or you really just got a job just after high school?
Yeah, me after high school, I did not go to college. Before the exam was out, I was already working. I got enrolled with Bidco Oil Refineries before the exam was out, and by then we did not have this technology that we are having. The technology of checking your results on phone. You had to do it physically, and I did not do that. I was working, and so I did not. I took some time. I took some time before checking my results. Yeah.
So now Form 4 cleared. Now you are working.
Form 4 cleared and working.
Now you are working.
Yes.
How was it now? Yeah, now you are making your money, and you are really into alcoholism.
So it just became worse because I started earning money, something that had not happened before. Previously, when I was in school, I would depend on handouts. Now I'm getting my own money, and I remember by that time I was working in Dika, and there was this plant. The castle brewing plant. It was at Wetadia. They had a lot of promotions, and I do remember with the 200, you would take several bottles, and so I would take beer like on daily basis, and the moment I don't have money for the beer, I would go for changa. Changa was very cheap. Changa was very much available, and I remember even to some point I did lose that job, and when I lost the job, what I did next, I just went to Changa Brewing. Yeah.
So now, at now, what point now did it now happen to you that my drinking it's really becoming problematic?
Yeah, I came to realize that my drinking was becoming problematic when I would find myself pressing ahead the alcohol ahead of anything else. I lost interest in anything else, and I pressed ahead my alcohol. I will not care so long as I had money to drink, even going to job. That was not a problem to me. I will not go. I will not go. Losing a job was not my problem. So long as these days that I'm not going to work, I'm having money to drink, and there's nobody who would tolerate you. You are employed, you are not reporting to work, so there is no way that you can be tolerated. So by the moment you go reporting, you'll find that you have already lost the job. And so what I did went to that extent. I preferred to be a casual laborer, because with the casual labor, you don't have any contract with someone. So it is you go, you get your daily pay. Tomorrow, if you decided to report, you report. If you don't report, you don't have any contract with that person. And it was like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now we have now at that story up to now this time. Now when you have come now to realize that my drinking has become problematic. Yeah. Now we'll want now to get your story on how did you now forge ahead and start now your journey to recovery. But now we are going to take a short break. Now when we come back, Peter will take us through on how and when did he start on his journey to recovery. We are still having Peter with us, trying to understand his story and his journey with addiction and per se in alcoholism. Before we went to break, Peter gave us his story. Now we want to get his journey on how he started his way to sobriety. So welcome back, Peter.
Yeah, so it was a tough journey because the moment my drinking became out of hand, I would try so many times to quit, of which I would not make. I started developing some physical problems. I would have ulcers. I would try to quit, I would not be able. I would try going to church, it was not possible. So I struggled with active alcoholism for close to 10 years. Close to 10 years. And my turning point came when I found myself in a rehab. And unlike other people who normally check themselves into rehabs, unlike other people who are normally checked in by their significant ones, me, I just found myself there.
So how did you now find yourself there?
So it's like, you know, at times you go, you get drunk, you have a memory blackout, and that is what really happened. And I was sleeping somewhere across the road, and someone, a good Samaritan, and me, I normally term him as my savior. He did find me, and coincidentally, he was a director in a rehab. So with him, he took me to rehab, and then he was consulting my family as I was already there. And I did my 3 months program, the 90 days program, and once I was done with the program, I just got discharged, and this is me today. Yeah.
A lot of people, when they hear the word rehab, it is really a scary word. They really don't want to mention about it. So how did you feel now when you woke up and realized, oh, I'm in a rehab?
So now in the first place, yeah, you wake up and you realize that you are in a rehab. And like it happens to any alcoholic or any addict who is using, and then you are not using. The first thing, you have to be very irritated, you have to be so discontented, you have to be so restless. You can imagine now beating the withdrawals. But there I was lucky because I was not beating the withdrawals with the cold turkey. There was medication to help me manage the same. So when I came to learn that I was in a rehab, I was just begging that I only spend 72 hours because I believed within 72 hours, if I will not have died because of lacking alcohol, then it means that I cannot die because of lacking alcohol. If I die within the 72 hours, then it means I will not drink again because I will be dead. So the first 1 week was really tough because I was fighting with the withdrawals, and after that 1 week, I started now settling down. My mood started stabilizing, and I just found myself during the 90 days. Yeah.
Probably you may take us through now the first month you have settled.
Yeah.
How was it for the rest of the months? Probably second month, third month.
So with the in the first month, the first 3 weeks, no, the last 3 weeks of the first month, they really shaped me. Because this is why I was taken through orientation. I came to understand alcoholism as a disease. I came to understand addiction as a disease. And so, by the time I was in the program, I was not seeing alcoholism as a lifestyle. I was seeing it as a disease. And so that one made it simple or easy for me. I was doing the next 2 months, where basically I was doing my step work. I was also doing my psychoeducation. I was also doing the life skills, the group therapy. So it was made easier because already I knew that I am one person who is very sick. Sick of what? Sick of alcoholism. I came to understand that my body chemistry is different from the body chemistry of other people who are using. I came to understand that I am one person who could not be able to handle alcohol like any other person who is doing it. And so from there, other than talking of a lifestyle, I started talking of a disease, and I declared myself allergic. Yeah, because there is no way that it would respond to me differently than it responding in other people. And then I happen to say that I'm normal. So I declared myself allergic. Yeah.
There is this feeling which people have that it's not a must that you go to rehab for you to recover from alcoholism. What is your take on that?
Yeah, my take on that, one, there are those people who normally say that it is not a must that you go for treatment. But with me, I tend to differ because so many people try to quit on their own and they don't make it. But with help, it becomes much easier. So most of these people who normally say that it is not a must you go to rehab, they're the ones that normally quits. They do make success in like 2 weeks, 2 months, or even an year, only to go back. So the thing that normally helps one when you are in treatment, it is because you are not quitting on your own. You are quitting on a program. You know the do's and don'ts. You know the slippery places, you know the slippery people, you know the slippery things. And so that kind of argument that you can be able to quit on your own. Just to mention a bit, so there is that person who can quit on his own or her own. A person who is not an alcoholic, a person who is not an addict. Those people normally quit. When they decide to quit, they quit. When they decided to drink, they do drink. But one person who cannot be able to make it a day without drinking, and then try to imagine that you can quit on your own, it is not simple. And there is nothing like an alcoholic reverting to a social drinker, or an addict reverting to a social user. And there is nothing like that in history. So those people normally have that perception. It's not true. Without help, it is too much for us. Yeah.
So when you are going now through the steps, did you maybe have any reservations which you had kept probably when you
with the steps? With the steps. Now after doing my orientation, they came to learn that I am one person who was very sick. Also came to learn that I will never be able to use again. Then there came the steps. There was the first step, admission to powerlessness and unmanageability. You know, at times you normally have some reservations, as in, does it mean that there is no single time that I will have myself drinking? You'll be like, even after staying for a certain amount of time, will it not be possible? So there was that reservation. But now, as time goes by, the more you stay clean, the lower the level of cravings. The more you stay clean, the lower the level of cravings. So as time went by, some of these reservations zilienda zikiondoka. The reason being, in the first place, nothing has changed. It is only that you are not using. You are still an alcoholic, only that you have not drunk on that particular day. And so, in case you happen to drink, nothing will be different. You just find yourself at the same point that you were. And so, that is where now I was able to deal with the reservations. And you know, by the time we are working the program, we were told that the head desserts are always the same: jails, institutions, or death. And since I've ever found myself in a police cell, I've ever found myself in an institution, then it means I could be so unlucky to find myself dying. Yeah, it's not normally said that to scare people. It is a fact. People do die out of alcoholism. People die out of addiction. And so I started living a day at a time. And I stopped worrying so much about tomorrow. I started worrying too much about what tomorrow held for me. And so I started living a day at a time. As long as I'm not used today, then the rest has been catered for. Yeah, and that is the way it has been made possible for me. Yeah.
Now coming now to that realization that I may not be able now to take another bottle of alcohol, and looking of most of your social cycle, it involved the drinking buddies.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
So now there's one thing. I remember I got this from my sponsor. I'm the only person who has quit. I'm the only person who has a problem. My drinking buddies are still drinking. My drinking buddies do not have a problem. So when it came to addressing this issue of I'm not drinking, you know, people always tell you to demand an explanation, the reason as to why you could not be drinking, and they are used to you drinking. So it was very simple. People normally tell you to use some tricks. People use some lies. Oh, I'm on medication. Oh, I have an appointment. I don't know what. Me, I was trained to speak the truth. I quit. And I did not quit because it is no longer available. I did not quit because I don't have friends I can drink with. I quit because I cannot drink again. And it was as simple as that. And the more they became used to me not drinking, the more they would embrace that. And the more they would even respect that decision. So when it comes to drinking buddies, it all depends the kind of information that you are going to give them. It all depends on the way you are going to carry yourself, and more so that aspect of self-awareness. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when people go to rehab, as they now near to exit, probably some people try to think and imagine, I'm okay, I'm good, I have no problem. Did that thought occur to you that now I feel I'm good, so I have the energy, I can go back and take my bottle?
So now, okay, this is the thing,
Yes.
Alcoholism is a disease, a disease that is chronic. And saying that it is a chronic disease, it means that it is a disease that is not curable. It is a permanent disease. But now the good part of it is, the moment you are in recovery, it does not require any medication. The only medication is abstinence. And so, having that in mind, that I am one person who has a disease that is permanent. You know, you cannot solve your problems the same way you created them. If I created my problem by drinking, there's no way I can think that I can solve myself by drinking again. And so I had that in mind, that I will never be able to use again. I will never be able to use again. So, and you know, in most cases, and it is good that you have talked about the exit plan. Most people in their exit plan sheets, they normally talk of how I'm going to set up a business, how I'm going to look for employment, how I'm going to reunite with my spouse, how I'm going to get back to my family, you know, such. But with me, what I can say, your exit plan or anybody's exit plan should be being clean, being sober. Because the moment one is sober, then it means there's nothing that you'll be forcing your way. People have had exit plans, most of which do not come true, because the moment you place something ahead, or you give something the priority number one, other than sobriety, then it means you'll first of all lose this thing, and then what you follow? Sobriety. You may lose sobriety first, and then you lose this thing. But the moment you are sober, it is very hard to find yourself losing on any area. And so the exit plan should always be sobriety. Those other things will bring themselves slowly. They always materialize. It may be quickly, it may be slowly, but so long as you are sober, I know it does happen. Because some of the things that I was struggling with, today I don't find myself struggling with those things. Yeah.
There is this notion also when people they are trying to get treatment in rehab.
Yeah.
They really tend to think that the people who brought them to the facility, they are the ones who have a problem. Actually, they will tell you, I have no problem. My drinking is good. So, what's your take on that?
Okay, that is one of the characteristics of the disease. Denial. Denial is that part of the disease that tells you that you don't have a problem. And little do people know that when you are the victim, being the alcoholic or the addict, you are always the last person to know that there is a problem. The significant others, the friends, the community, colleagues, they realized long time ago. And after realizing that there is a problem, the ones who have knowledge that this is a disease that can be treated, they normally take that body step of checking one into a rehab.
Now, you've been admitted in the rehab, and I've walked the journey in the rehab. What can you say about rehabs? Because there's a lot of stigma, a lot of profiling on what rehabs are.
So, unlike in the past, right now, people are really embracing the idea of treatment in rehabs. And even the civil service, parastatals, they are doing the same for their staff. Because the kind of perception that was there initially, as time goes by, it's like shedding. Again, after the realization that alcoholism is a disease like any other, people are embracing the issue of rehabs. Number two, there is this issue of stigma. People would fear going to rehabs because they feared stigmatization.
Yes.
But once you come to realize that it is a disease like any other, you are not shy checking into a rehab. And there's also one thing that really encourages people to get treatment. the success stories that are there. Because you might have been my drinking buddy, I might have known you while you are drinking, and then all of a sudden I find that you are not drinking. All of a sudden I find that now your things have started going right. How do you wish to know? How did that happen? And then because of the kind of outreach, the kind of sensitization that is happening, people are really embracing the issue of treatment in rehabs. And people are not even fearing stigma anymore. And that is why you see people, you hear people anywhere sharing about their journeys in recovery. And even if you may not be willing to go to a rehab, and there is that person who really sees and understands that you need treatment, at the times you don't even need it to be asked. Nobody should borrow permission from you to be taken to rehab. Because addiction and alcoholism happens to be family diseases. Those people who are having addicts or alcoholics around them, they are also sick. They are sick of codependency. Because this person just uses his alcohol, just uses his drugs, and then how about the consequences of the addiction? How about the consequences of the alcoholism? It goes to the significant other. And so anybody at all who comes into the line of an addict or an alcoholic suffers in a way or another. And that is why you'd even find people are being taken for treatment involuntarily. Involuntarily. Because the moment this person recovers, also the codependency recovers. Yeah.
Wow.
The moment the victim recovers, even the codependent recovers.
I think now the message is very clear out there that rehabs, it's not a death sentence place. So it's a place where you can come and you can be able to receive treatment. So if you have your loved one, your relative, it's a good place you can try to seek help from. So because there are a lot of professionals around there, and as Peter has told us in a very long story that it's a very good place and it works. Yeah,
it works.
Now you have done your program 90 days.
Yes.
And now you are exiting.
Yes.
How was your exit plan?
My exit plan was being sober. Yes. My exit plan was being sober. And as I did, and as I went and implemented my plan, things started working. There are those things that I had tried accomplishing for so many years, I would not accomplish. So I did find myself being in a position to accomplish. So my exit plan was being sober. By then I did not have any plan. I did not have any plan. As in, I'm going to set up a business, I'm going to get employment or what. I only had the plan of being sober.
So how difficult, how easy it was for you now when you immediately exited the facility? Your plan?
My plan?
Yeah.
Okay, my exit plan was being sober.
So
it's not that easy. We normally talk of triggers. Triggers are people, triggers are places, and triggers are things. They are there. And me being abstinent did not mean that there are some brands of alcohol that will not be in the market. It did not mean that some crabs are going to be crossed. It did not mean that there are some people who are going to follow me and they quit. So being in the midst of all these triggers or the temptations, it required a lot of courage. It required a lot of self-awareness. It also required a lot of self-acceptance. So I had to accept the fact that I cannot drink like any other person. I had to be aware that I am one sick person. I also had to know, much as one is my friend, where does our relationship start and where does our relationship end? So I had to set some social boundaries, and as time goes by, those temptations are not as powerful as they were initially. Because number one, you get used to these people, you get used to this environment, and you find yourself not having such a hard time. So in early recovery, that one is very normal, but in late recovery, it is not that tempting, because the more you stay clean, as I told you, the lower the level of cravings. Yeah.
So how important is it now for one to be in a fellowship now when they leave the facility?
Yeah, it is very important. So just to mention, it is very important to stay in touch. It is very important for one to have a mentor. We normally call this mentor a sponsor. A sponsor is that term that we normally use in recovery, because, as I said, it's very hard to recover alone. Similarly, it is very hard to walk this journey alone. So it is advisable that one looks for a sponsor, someone who will help this person in the recovery journey. There are so many challenges that needs to be addressed, and since we are so vulnerable to emotions, we are so vulnerable to feelings. So the moment you are working with a sponsor, the moment you are having the services of a sponsor, it works very well. And because this person, the sponsor, has been in recovery, this sponsor, the moment you are talking with him or her, does not try to imagine whatever you might be trying to talk about. Does not imagine anything. He has been there and understands everything. And because it is one person in whom you have trust, then the difficulties are normally lessened. So in recovery, we do encourage so much that one works with a sponsor. And also the family is normally brought on board. The family is also brought on board as this person recovers from his alcoholism or addiction. The family also recovers from codependency. Yeah.
Maybe one thing which we need now to get it clear is that this person whom we are calling a sponsor, it has to be someone who is in recovery and has been in that journey for more than 1 year.
Yes.
So it's not just anybody. So it has to be very specific. This person has been in recovery. So now we see your journey from when you get to the rehab. Now you have exited and now you are living your life outside now the facility.
Yeah.
How was now your family now responding to you now when you exited the facility?
So now, like any other family, I was received with a lot of joy, because for the very first time in so many years, there are those people who would see me sober for the first time in a very long time. We will talk with each other, not at each other. And so much as it was my joy, it was also their joy. And by the time I was working my program, I had separated with my wife. And the moment I did the program, after some time, she came back. So meaning, it was the alcoholism that was bringing all these problems. It was the alcoholism that would make me lose interest in my family. I can proudly say that I am able to provide what an average parent can provide. Yes.
Now, having now walked now that journey of sobriety, now you've been in that recovery. What can you say now? There are fruits now which you have gotten now from the time you quitted now, being active in the substance use.
There are so many benefits. Benefits are very many. Yeah, because for one, you know, there are situations that they used to buffer us. You find that you're able to handle them. Number two, when it comes to the social life, the social network ever widens. And the bottom line is trust. You are able to restore trust. And the moment there is that trust, believe you me, you don't force anything your way. Though it takes some time, when you regain the kind of trust that you had lost in people, then you don't force anything your way. And when you see that you don't force anything your way, you know, in most cases, you might be having some problem. And because people know, whoever you are approaching knows very well that the kind of problem you are talking about is a genuine problem. This person will always chip in. So, me, I can't count any loss. It's only benefits. And as I continue repeating, once you are sober, you don't force anything your way. Yeah.
So you can proudly say that being sober, it has many benefits.
It pays. It really pays. Yeah.
So you can really proudly advise someone who is really having some struggles with the drink or another substance to seek for help.
Yeah. It is that is the only advice that I can give, and the only way of getting help is being treated. And once you are treated, and now you are done with treatment, one thing that I would like to mention, there is nothing like cure, and there is no known cure to addiction. There's no known cure to alcoholism. Once you have been able to get treatment and you quit, then the rest will follow. So for those people who are suffering in alcoholism and addiction, for those people who are living with addicts or alcoholics, I can confidently tell them that there is a solution. Yeah.
Okay. As we've heard from Peter, it's that having to walk the journey of treatment, it helps, and it has worked for him. As we have heard from him, is that there's a lot of benefits and fruits from people get when they seek treatment, and he has put it right that we seek help in the right places and from the right people, so that one can be able now to enjoy now the benefits. Now, Peter, now as we come now to the conclusion,
yes.
What now can you tell now that person who's there, who's seeking all the ways to quit, and they are unable to, and when now they hear the word rehab, they are like, no, that's not the place. So what advice can you give them?
So now, the only advice that I can give them, number one, a rehab, it's not a prison. A rehab is a treatment center like any other. A rehab is a home away from home. So, those people who normally fear going to rehabs, maybe because of the negative perception that has been there, So I would advise them to seek help because it is possible. And me, I normally talk from an experience point of view that recovery is possible. So if you are struggling with addiction, if you are struggling with alcoholism, if you are having someone who is struggling, always seek for help. Otherwise, on your own, it is too much. And if you continue, all you will expect is only the situation getting worse. It does not become better in any way. It always becomes worse. So it's always good to seek treatment. And as I have said, if you feel that you really need that kind of help, seek help from where it can be got. Yeah.
Okay, as we heard from Peter, it's that recovery is possible, something which can be done, and addiction it's not a curse, it's a disease. So it's not something to be afraid of or trying to hide away from. So it's something which one needs to seek for help, and as we have seen, there's a lot of benefits when one becomes sober. So thank you, Peter, for coming to our set.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate, and we wish you all the best as you continue with your journey of sobriety.
And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.